My girlfriend used me to pay her college tuition, then dumped me for her professor. Now she's jobless in debt, and I'm the one who hires him. I'm a 26-year-old guy, and I used to believe love meant sacrifice. Back when I was 21, I fell for this girl named Emma. She had this fire in her eyes when she talked about her dream of becoming a journalist, said she wanted to change the world one story at a time. The problem was, she couldn't afford college. Her parents had split, her mom worked 2 jobs, and there was just no safety net. So I stepped in. I told her we'd figure it out together. I picked up night shifts at a gas station on top of my warehouse job. On weekends I drove Uber. I stopped going out, stopped buying anything for myself that wasn't essential. When my friends asked where I'd been, I told them I was grinding. But the truth is, I was pouring everything into Emma's future because I believed it was our future. She cried the day I handed her the first tuition payment, said no one had ever believed in her like I did, said she'd make me proud. I held on to those words like they were a promise. My brother thought I was being a doormat. My best friend straight up told me, "Bro, don't fund someone's dreams unless there's a ring involved." But I didn't care. I loved her. And I thought love meant putting someone else's needs above your own, especially when they're struggling. Emma started college that fall. Every night she'd come home tired but glowing, talking about what she learned. Media law, investigative reporting, even this one professor she idolized who taught journalism ethics. I loved seeing her light up. I thought we were building something beautiful, looking back now. I should have listened when my gut whispered something didn't feel right. But at the time, I was too busy carrying both of us to notice how far I was starting to fall. She started pulling away the moment tuition was covered. At first, I chalked it up to stress. New school, harder classes, different schedule, it made sense. But then weeks went by, and the girl who used to snuggle into my chest every night now rolled to the far edge of the bed like I wasn't even there. Kisses turned into forehead taps. Conversations turned into "I'm tired" or "let's talk later." And later never came. She blamed school for everything. I have a deadline. Group meeting ran late. This professor's a nightmare. But something felt off. I'd come home from a double shift to find her curled up on the couch, smiling at her phone. When I'd ask who it was, she'd lock the screen and say, "Just my study group, chill." I tried not to overthink it. I told myself she was chasing her dream and maybe I was being clingy. But it gnawed at me, the way she angled her phone away from me, the sudden new password, the weird way her voice changed when she said, "Nothing's wrong." One night, around 1 a.m., I came out of the shower and saw her jump when I entered the room. She turned her phone face down and pulled the blanket over it like I was some stranger. I didn't say anything, but my chest was tight for hours. Meanwhile, I was working more than ever, picking up extra shifts to cover her books, her bus passes, her meal plans, because apparently the tuition wasn't everything. I was exhausted, drained. But every time I thought about letting go, I pictured her walking across that graduation stage, and I told myself it would all be worth it. I didn't know I was financing the silence between us. I didn't know I was working overtime while she was slipping away. She dumped me the day after her final semester ended. No warning, no fight. Just a quiet Saturday morning, sunlight barely touching the windows, and Emma sitting on the edge of our bed like a stranger in her own home. She wouldn't even look me in the eye. "I need to find myself," she said, her voice flat. "I just need space to figure out who I am." That was it. After 4 years, thousands of dollars, endless sacrifices, I didn't even get a proper goodbye. No thank you, no I'm sorry, just a clean slice through everything I thought we'd built. Like I'd been holding us together while she quietly packed her exit bag behind my back. I didn't cry at first. I just sat there, stunned, nodding like an idiot while my heart collapsed in my chest. She left her key on the table. I stared at it for hours, like it might open a door back to the girl I fell in love with. But she was gone, and I had no idea who she'd become. The spiral came fast. I couldn't eat,
Couldn't sleep.
I kept refreshing our old texts, looking for signs I missed. I blamed myself, told myself maybe I wasn't supportive enough,
Maybe I worked too much.
maybe I didn't listen enough,
That's what she always said, right?
that I didn't get it. Then a week later, I saw it. My buddy sent me a screenshot from Instagram. Emma was tagged in someone's graduation party post. She was wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, curled up next to a man in a blazer with graying hair. He had his arm around her waist. She was leaning into him, laughing. The caption, "With my favorite professor, my heart didn't break. It detonated. She was sleeping with her professor for months." After that Instagram post, I tried to convince myself maybe it was just a picture.
Maybe I was reading too much into it.
But denial only lasts so long when the truth keeps slapping you in the face. A few days later, one of Emma's old classmates, someone I barely knew but had once driven home during a rainstorm, DM'd me. "Hey, I thought you should know. Emma and Professor Langston." That wasn't new.
Everyone kind of knew.
It started junior year. My hands went cold reading it. I asked for proof. She sent a screenshot, Emma, half drunk, bragging in a private group chat about how Langston lets me skip assignments if I stay after class. My stomach turned. It wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. I was out there working 60-hour weeks, financing her degree, while she was hooking up with the same guy who graded her papers. I tried calling her.
No answer. Texted. Nothing. I drove to her new apartment and she actually answered the door, smirking. "Wow, you really didn't know," she said.
"Guess that's on you." I stood there, heart pounding, barely able to breathe. "You used me," I whispered. She shrugged.
"I needed help. You volunteered. Don't make this my fault. That some people are stepping stones, that's just life." And she closed the door in my face. She blocked me on everything after that.
Instagram, Twitter, even Venmo. But that didn't stop her from posting pictures. Dinner dates with Langston, beach trips, power couple vibes. Meanwhile, I was digging under couch cushions to make rent. My savings were gone. My pride was in shreds.
Friends didn't know what to say.
Family said, "I told you so." I had nothing left but silence and the sound of my own anger pulsing like a second heartbeat. I moved back in with my parents for a while. It felt like failure in capital letters. I'd spent years trying to build a future with Emma. And now I was back in my childhood bedroom, staring at old band posters and a cracked ceiling fan, wondering how the hell I let my life collapse. I quit both jobs.
Couldn't focus.
Couldn't pretend to be okay.
My mom left food outside my door.
My dad didn't say much, just sat beside me sometimes during football reruns, not needing words. That silence helped more than anything. Eventually, I started writing. Not letters to her, not rants, just thoughts. Mornings where I didn't feel like breathing. Nights I'd wake up angry and didn't know why. The therapist my mum found helped me make sense of it.
Told me I wasn't weak, I was grieving.
Not just the relationship, but the version of me that believed love couldn't hurt like that. I deleted her socials.
Every picture, every tag, gone. It wasn't about revenge anymore.
It was survival. A few months later, my buddy Nate reached out. He worked at a small but growing digital marketing startup. They needed someone who could write, edit, design fast, and keep their head down. "Someone like you," he said. I took the gig.
Started with tiny campaigns.
Within weeks, I was leading client decks. Something clicked. For the first time in years, I felt like the investment.
I was building something for me. 12 months in, I was making double what I earned before.
I had my own place, gym routine, and a peace I hadn't felt since college started. Emma was just a bad dream I'd finally woken up from. Still, every now and then, someone would mention her. "She's freelancing now, right?"
Didn't she want to be an anchor or something?
Apparently, that dream fizzled. No degree honors, no major offers, just sporadic gigs and a reputation that couldn't quite shine through, and I didn't miss her. Not anymore. My company just acquired a failing PR firm, and guess who worked there? I'd just been promoted to head of brand strategy. We were expanding fast, swallowing up smaller firms that couldn't keep up with the digital shift. One of them was this crusty old boutique agency with a fancy name and zero online traction, Langston Communications. I nearly dropped my coffee when I saw the name. At first I thought, no way.
Can't be that Langston.
But the founder bio on their website confirmed it. Professor Miles Langston.
Former journalist. Former adjunct professor.
I stared at the screen like it was taunting me. The firm was a mess. Their last major client dumped them after a scandal involving recycled press releases, basically copy-paste jobs from older campaigns. Accusations of plagiarism were all over their Yelp and LinkedIn reviews. Financials.
Bleeding. Staff.
Down to 8 people. Honestly, we were acquiring them for parts. Still, something made me dig deeper. Morbid curiosity, I guess. I pulled their internal team roster from the due diligence packet, just to glance.
And there she was.
Emma Cole, junior analyst. My heart stopped. The last name flickered like a warning light.
I hadn't seen it in 2 years, but I knew it like a scar. I sat there for a while, just staring at the screen. What were the odds?
After everything, after clawing my way back from rock bottom, I was now in a position to decide the fate of the 2 people who nearly destroyed me.
And they had no idea. Emma, who once called me a stepping stone,
was now holding on to a sinking ship. And Langston, who thought he was untouchable,
had just handed me the keys to his house on fire. I didn't know what I was going to do next.
But for the first time in a long time, I had options. They reached out for a partnership and requested a meeting with me. Langston must have thought he was being proactive, trying to get ahead of the acquisition by pitching a strategic media partnership. The email came through our company's general inquiry inbox. The subject line was some vague PR buzzword salad, but what caught my eye was the sender, Miles Langston. And right there, CC'd in tiny grey font,
Emma Cole. I read the message twice.
He had no clue who I was. The email was polite, almost desperate. Langston talked about shared
values and potential synergy and a desire
to align with digital-first leadership. He requested a face-to-face with our brand director. That was me. I took a deep breath and forwarded the email to my assistant. Schedule this.
I'll take it myself. I didn't tell anyone why. I didn't need to.
From the outside, it was just another meeting in a sea of corporate back and forth. But inside, I was a storm barely held together by a pressed shirt and a calm signature line. I started preparing, not just slides, but receipts. I pulled up financials, client histories, old media campaigns. I reviewed Langston's plagiarism fallout. I even dug into their social engagement metrics, flatlined. Their brand was circling the drain, and they were throwing Hail Marys at anyone with a lifeboat. And now they were about to sit across from the one person they should have never underestimated. I kept picturing Emma reading that CC thread, not knowing the man she'd ghosted, used, humiliated, would be the one waiting at the head of the table.
I wondered if she'd recognize my name on the calendar invite. Part of me hoped she would.
Part of me wanted to see her face when she walked in. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It was about gravity, and I was no longer the one falling. She walked into the room, and her jaw hit the floor. I was already seated, pressed navy suit, leather notebook, water glass untouched. I made sure the nameplate in front of me just read, Head of Brand Strategy. No first name. No hint. Emma walked in first. Her heels clicked too confidently until her eyes met mine. Her entire face drained, like she'd seen a ghost wearing a better suit than the one who died. Langston followed behind her, oblivious, all smiles and rehearsed charm. "Thanks for meeting with us," he said, extending a hand. I shook it firmly. He didn't flinch, didn't pause.
Didn't recognize me.
That was almost worse than the betrayal. Emma sat stiffly beside him, hands folded tight, eyes darting between the projector and the exit. I hadn't said a word yet. Langston launched into his pitch, slides, jargon, buzzwords about revitalizing legacy media, leveraging academic integrity, and pioneering reputation repair. The irony nearly choked me. I let him talk.
I even nodded once or twice.
Let him dig his own grave with every slide. Then I flipped open my own folder. Before we proceed, I said evenly, I do have concerns about Langston Communications' ethical standing. Multiple flagged incidents of content recycling, unsourced pitches, and, I tapped the paper lightly, formal allegations of plagiarism filed in the last 2 years. Langston blinked. Those were exaggerated. We've cleared most of those up internally. Except your largest client dropped you last quarter, I replied. And 2 agencies blacklisted your interns. Emma looked like she was trying to disappear into her seat. I kept my tone neutral.
No emotion, no revenge fantasy monologue.
Just cold professional facts. The power dynamic in that room had shifted so hard, it echoed. Langston still hadn't placed me, but Emma knew, and I saw her flinch when I smiled. I politely declined. Then I sent the report to their competitors. The meeting ended with a handshake and a thank you, just business, nothing personal.
I never once revealed who I was.
Didn't gloat, didn't hint, just told them flatly that we wouldn't be moving forward and wished them the best in restructuring. Langston seemed annoyed, but still clueless. Emma didn't say a word. Her eyes stayed locked on her notebook the entire time, hands trembling just enough for me to notice. I walked out without looking back, but a week later, I made my move. I compiled every documented slip, internal complaints, client withdrawals, citation discrepancies, and forwarded them anonymously to 3 respected media watchdogs and 2 of their top rivals in the PR space. I didn't embellish a word, just presented the facts neatly packaged, like a case study in ethical collapse. 3 weeks after that, the exposé dropped. The fall of Langston Communications, when reputation is built on lies. It spread fast. Screenshots from former interns, whistleblower quotes, old tweets from clients who'd walked away. They even dug up the group chat screenshots I'd been sent years ago. It was brutal and deserved. Langston tried to issue a statement, but the university where he taught part-time cut ties within 48 hours. He lost his adjunct contract, and 2 long-term agency partners publicly severed relations. Emma? She tweeted one thing: karma hits hard when you least expect it. No names.
No context.
But I knew exactly who it was meant for. People in her replies asked if she was okay. One person commented, "You were always better than them anyway." I didn't respond.
I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel much of anything, honestly. Just quiet, not relief.
Not victory, just silence, where pain used to live. She emailed me 2 weeks later, begging, subject line, "Please read this." It was a long one.
Almost a full page.
Emma's tone had completely shifted. Gone was the smug, untouchable woman who once called me a stepping stone. Now she sounded like someone clinging to the edge of a cliff. She said she hadn't realized who I was until after the meeting, said my name didn't register until it was too late, and by then, everything had already begun unraveling. She wrote that she was sorry, that Langston had pressured her into the relationship, that he dangled grades and promises, that she'd been young, lost, and stupid. She said I was the only person who ever truly believed in her, and she threw it away for ambition that never loved her back. She asked if we could talk.
Not as lovers, just as people. She ended with, "I regret what I did to you every day. Please, even if you can't forgive me, just know I'm sorry." I read it twice, then I took a screenshot and archived it. I didn't respond.
Not because I hated her, not because I wanted her to suffer, but because there was nothing left to say. The version of me she knew, the man she used, discarded, underestimated, he didn't exist anymore, and I had no interest in letting her resurrect him just to feel better. I didn't forward the email, didn't leak it, didn't weaponize it.
I didn't need to.
She'd already done enough damage to herself. I closed my laptop, leaned back in my chair, and stared out the window. The city lights blinked like a heartbeat, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like someone waiting to be picked. I felt chosen by myself, by peace. By silence, Langston showed up to a hiring panel I was leading. for an internship. It was months after the expose and the dust had mostly settled. Our company posted a few open PR consultant roles, entry-level, short-term contracts for candidates trying to rebuild their portfolios. The applicant list was long. I barely glanced at most names until one stopped me cold. Miles Langston. I blinked. Checked the resume twice. Same credentials. Same overinflated accomplishments. Except this time, no flashy agency. No professor title. Just a man trying to claw his way back into relevance. He had no idea who was heading the panel. The day of the interview, he walked into the conference room wearing the same fake confidence I remembered from our boardroom meeting. He extended his hand. Miles Langston. Thank you for having me. I shook it without smiling. Of course. Let's begin. We went through the usual questions. He stumbled over a few. Clearly he hadn't done much to repair his pitch. Talked about lessons learned and moving forward with humility. I let him speak. Let him dig his own grave, one rehearsed sentence at a time. Toward the end, he finally looked at my nameplate. Paused. His brow creased. I saw it hit him like a slow echo.
Recognition crept across his face, not just of who I was, but what he had done.
And who I had become. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. We're looking for integrity, I said quietly, but clearly. Thanks, but no thanks. His mouth opened slightly like he wanted to protest, but nothing came out. Just a nod. A defeated, heavy nod. He stood, gathered his papers, walked out. I never saw him again. Emma, meanwhile, had gone completely silent on socials. No new job updates.
No shared campaigns. No mutual tags.
In an industry built on visibility, she'd vanished, and I didn't need to chase karma anymore. It knew exactly where to land. I don't need to destroy people. Life does that on its own. That's something I've come to understand. Not out of bitterness, but from finally being on the other side of it all. These days, I wake up in an apartment I chose, paid for by a job I earned, surrounded by silence I actually enjoy.
No knots in my stomach. No second guessing if I'm enough.
Just peace. I'm dating again. Nothing serious. Just slow steps, good conversations, and honesty I never knew I needed until I went without it for too long.
I no longer chase validation or play the savior.
I've learned that real love doesn't ask you to bankrupt your soul to prove it. Emma taught me that. Not intentionally, of course, but pain's a hell of a teacher. She showed me exactly what I'll never tolerate again. Emotional manipulation dressed up as ambition, guilt disguised as gratitude. And I thank her for that, in a weird, detached way. Not because she deserved my kindness, but because I deserved my own freedom. Langston?
I don't think about him much.
He's just a cautionary tale now.
A man who thought his title made him untouchable until it didn't. Watching him shrink under my gaze that day wasn't about revenge.
It was about recognition.
He knew I knew.
And that was enough. Sometimes people ask if I ever confronted Emma, if I ever sent a final message just to twist the knife. But the truth is, I didn't need to. She's stuck reliving her mistakes in rooms she can't escape. And me?
I got to walk out of mine. I didn't win because I hurt them back. I won because I healed. But I'll be honest, knowing I got the last word? Yeah, that's a nice little cherry on top.